Hi guys, welcome back to ladensercrotchets. If you're new to the channel, my name is Liz and kindly subscribe and join the family. In this tutorial, we'll be making a dress, a multicolored dress. You can either make this dress in multiple colors, in 2 colors, or in just 1 color. And this dress is an extension of a top that I recently did and uploaded a tutorial on this channel. So if you'd like to watch the tutorial to the top, I'll attach a link in the description box, so be sure to click on it and watch the top tutorial. I'll be using these colors. The goal was to use up the scrap yarn that I have lying around, but then I decided to add these 2 colors because I need them for the pattern that I'm working. Then I'll be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. I'll need a pair of scissors, at least 2 stitch markers, a darning needle, a measuring tape. I'll be working 2 completely identical panels, and this is one of them. The measurements that you're going to need are the bust measurements, and you're going to take your bust measurement and divide it by 4. Mine is 36. When I divide it by 4, I get 9, and when I stretch this out, it stretches to 9. The panel that you're going to work should be a quarter of your bust measurements. Mine, like I've mentioned, is 36, so this is 9 when stretched. The other measurement that you're going to need is the length of the top. Now, this is the length. We'll be working lengthwise, and you're going to take the length of the top that you want and multiply it by 2. So now, this should be the length of my top, which is 13. So that means when I'm chaining, I'll make a chain that is equal to 26 because we are multiplying the length by 2. So we're going to work another panel like this one, and then we're going to connect them to form the top. I'll begin with the pitch. Start with a slip knot. And then I'll chain 90. 90 will give me 26 inches, and it's exactly the same as this. I have my 90 chains, and I'm going to measure this. So you want to make sure that the chains that you've made will give you the length of your top multiplied by 2. So when I do measure, it's getting me to 24, but then once I work the first row, it stretches up to 26. So you need to give yourself an allowance of -2. So if the length that you want to work is 28, chain 26, because after the first row, the work stretches a little bit. Then I'm going to count 2 chains down. So this is the first, and this is the second. I'll hold it and chain 1 more. Then yarn over and go into that chain that I'm holding with a double crochet. So you yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, pull up a loop to get 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And right there you have 2 double crochets. The chain 2 at the beginning is the first double crochet, then we worked the second double crochet. Then yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Place a double crochet into the next chain, a double crochet into the chain that follows, double crochet, next, and place 1 double crochet all the way till you get to the end. At the end, you should have the same number of stitches as the chains that you've done. So at the end of row 1, I should have 90 double crochets. Now, if you want tighter stitches, then I would advise that you use a smaller hook like the 3mm or the 2.5. I'm coming to the end and I'm just placing the last double crochet into the last chain to complete row 1 with my 90 stitches. Then I'm going to do another row of the peach color. To begin row 2, I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. Then we're not going to begin in the first stitch because the chain 2 acts as our first double crochet. We're going to go straight into the second stitch, place a double crochet, then place a double crochet into the next stitch, into the next one, and we're going to place 1 double crochet into every stitch to the end. At the end we still have 90 stitches. As you come to the end, you need to ensure that you work into all the stitches. Like right here, as you can see, the only remaining stitch that you can see is 1, but these are actually 2 because these are 2 double crochets. We have the double crochet and we have the chain 2. So you're going to place the double crochet, a double crochet into the double crochet, and that's not the end. Then you're going to yarn over and place a double crochet onto the chain 2 that you did at the beginning. Like that, to ensure that the edges are straight and that you do not miss any stitch. Now at this point, if you're continuing with just 1 color, you're going to chain 2 and turn. After turning, you're going to work into the second stitch with a double crochet and then a double crochet next, and continue to the end. When you get to the end, you're going to make sure that you work into the chain 2. So you're going to work into this stitch and onto the chain 2 right here. That is when you're working with 1 color. If you want to change the colors, like in my case, after the end of the second row, you're going to chain 1 and cut off the first color, then pull through and fasten. Then you're going to turn your work to the other side where the stitches are visible, and then you're going to grab the second color and reconnect at the beginning. I have my second color, and to reconnect, I'm just going to get the point where I've cut off the yarn in the first stitch, insert my hook, then bring this loop onto the hook and pull it through. Then we're going to have the shorter end and the other end that we're going to work over. Then you're going to chain 3 at that point, and then as we work over these 2 short ends, we're going to work the double crochets. So we have the first double crochet in the first stitch, which is a chain 3. Then we're going to place a double crochet into the next stitch, then a double crochet into the stitch that follows, and 1 double crochet into all the stitches to the end. So at the end we have this stitch and then the last stitch onto the chain 2 stitch. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn to begin row 4, begin in the second stitch with the double crochet. Then now keep going with the rows until you get a quarter of your bust measurement. When you're measuring, we're going to measure this way. And then you're going to measure while stretching a little bit because you don't want your top to be too tight. So like this. Right now I'm at about 2.5. I'll keep going till I get to 9 inches. So now this is what I'm going to have. Like this. I'm working the peach, the yellow, then pink, green, gray, purple, and this other shade of purple. So I'll just keep going. In total I did 1 2 3 4 5 6 13 rows. So just work the number of rows that will give you a quarter of your bust, and then I'll meet you back here once I have the 2 panels ready. I have the 2 panels ready and I'm going to connect them. So I'll just turn these like this, then I'll turn the other one such that we have the pattern aligning like this. Then this is the middle part of the top. This is the middle part, and I'm going to connect the 2 pieces together for 20 stitches. Now what you need to do is get the total number of stitches that you did. Mine were 90, divide by 2, I'll get 45. Then 45, I'll subtract 20. 20 is the number of stitches that I leave for the neck part. So 45 minus 20, that will be 25, and I'm going to connect from this point for 25 stitches. So I'll begin by chaining 1. Then insert my hook into that very first stitch, then get the first stitch on the other side on the chain 2 stitch and connect the 2 with a single crochet. So just pull up a loop so that you get 2 loops on the hook, then yarn over, pull through the 2. I'm going to work for 25 stitches. So that's 1, this stitch, and the second stitch on the other side, 2, then we go into the 3rd stitch and the 3rd stitch on the other side, 3, then I'll join for the 25 stitches. I'm in the 25th stitch, so right there I'll work the last single crochet, then chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point. Then I'll go to the other side and connect the same way for 25 stitches from the bottom part. So I'll just grab my yarn, reconnect with the slip stitch on the first stitch and the first stitch, which is the chain 2 on the other side. Then pull the yarn through and chain 1, then go back into that stitch and place a single crochet. That stitch is too tight, then place a single crochet into the second stitch. I'm working over the ends, so work the 25, I'm done joining the middle part, and this is the wrong side of the top. This is the right side. When we turn it to the right side, we should get something like this. Then we need to create the armholes. For the armholes, you need to measure 8 inches or 9, depending on the size of your arm. You can do between 7 to 9. I'll do 7 right here. So 7 inches is, let me see how many stitches it's going to be. So on the side, I'll divide my stitches by 2, then subtract 25. Yeah, I'll subtract 25. The 25 should be on the upper part. So 45 minus 25, I should get 20. So on the lower part, I'll join for 20 stitches on this side and 20 stitches on this other side. On the wrong side, I'll just fold the top like this, then get one of the sides and reconnect the yarn in the first stitch, which is this right here, and the first stitch on the other side. Then I'll use the pitch, I'll get the yarn and reconnect right there, then chain one, go back into that stitch with a single crochet, then we'll work a single crochet into the next stitch, this stitch and the second stitch on the other side, then the third stitch into the third stitch and the third stitch on the other side, connect with a single crochet. I'm working over the ends as usual. Then we'll go into the fourth stitch and the fourth stitch on the other side, and I'll connect for 20 stitches. So I've joined for 20 stitches, so I have 25 from here to the end. If you want a longer armhole, you can leave 25, 30 instead of 25. So that means 25 on this side plus 25 on the other side, that makes 50. Then after the last single crochet, I'll just chain one and cut off the yarn. Pull through, fasten, then turn to the other side and join for another 20 stitches on that other side. So onto this other side, reconnect the yarn, and I'll do this, then I'll come back and show you what to do next. I have all the sides joined, and I'm just going to weave in the ends before we work the next part. So just weave in these ends. After weaving in the ends, turn the top to the right side. Once you have the top ready, it's time to do the skirt part. But if you just want this to be a top, you can work the ribbon. I'll leave a link to the top tutorial in the description box, so you can click it and do the ribbon to the skirt, to the top, that is, and this is what you're going to get. the top with the ribbon. So if you want to continue and make a skirt, you're going to get the back part. The back part, either side can be the back part. This can be the front or the back. This other part can also be the front or the back. So I'm going to turn my work like this and determine the point of connection. This point where I connected. Then on the row just after the connection, I'll reconnect my yarn there. I'll start with a slip knot. Then grab the row after the connection, put my hook through and do a slip stitch like that. Then chain 2, which is acting as our first double crochet. Then I'll go into the same row and place 1 double crochet to make 2 double crochets. I'm working over this end to weave it in. Into the next row, I'll place 2 double crochets. Into the row that follows, 1 double crochet. In the next row, 2 double crochets. Then 2 double crochets next. One double crochet. Two double crochet. It should be 1 in that row. So we are placing 2 double crochets. 2, 2, 1. Then 2, 2, 1. And continue repeating this pattern to the end. So that's 2, then another 2, and then 1. Then we have 2 double crochets, 2, then 1. Keep repeating this till you get to the end of this first row of the skirt. Once you get to the point of connection, you're just going to skip that point and work into the row that follows the point of connection right here. In my last row, I'm going to have 2 double crochets. It doesn't matter what you end with. It could be 2 double crochets or just 1. Then, to complete that row, we're going to slip stitch onto the chain 2. Then, chain 2 and turn to begin the next row. The chain 2 is our first double crochet, so we're going to move straight to the next stitch and place 1 double crochet there. And in this row, we're just going to place 1 double crochet into all the stitches, just 1 all the way around. Now, I'd mentioned that the chain 2 was going to be our first double crochet, but then I'll use it as a turning chain because I've realized that if I leave out this stitch, there's going to be a very large gap at the back of the dress. So I'll just place a double crochet where there is the chain 2. So the chain 2 will be acting as our turning point. Then slip stitch onto the chain 2 to complete row 2. Chain 2 and turn to begin row 3. Now we're going to work row 3 differently. We're going to start increasing in order to achieve the hip measurement of the dress. So while holding your work like this, you want to get the stitch that corresponds this part of the sleeve. So just get that stitch and mark it. Then also mark it on the other side. So we're going to be placing the increases at the points where we've marked. We've already chained 2 and turned. This one, so I'll just chain 1 more. That's our turning point. So I'll not work into this stitch as I begin, but I'll work into it as I come back. So I'm going to begin into the next stitch with 1 double crochet. Then this right here will be the last stitch that we're going to work. So now place 1 double crochet into each stitch till you get to the stitch marker. Once you get the stitch marker, pull it out and place 3 double crochets into that stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 3 into the same stitch. Then get your stitch marker and mark the middle stitch or the second stitch. Now continue to the next stitch marker with just 1 double crochet in every stitch. Pull out the other stitch marker and place 3 double crochets into that stitch where the stitch marker was. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then get the stitch marker and mark the middle stitch at that point of increase. Then now we're going to continue with just 1 double crochet into every stitch till we get to the end of row 3. Now remember to place a double crochet into the very first stitch, which is this stitch right here. Then slip stitch onto the chain 2, chain 2, and turn to begin row 4. Row 4 is going to be a row with no increase. That means we are placing just 1 double crochet into every stitch, and when we get to the stitch marker, we're going to pull it out, place a stitch marker, then continue marking that stitch, and then work 1 double crochet all the way around till you get to the end. So I've gotten to the stitch marker. I'll pull it out, place just one stitch into that stitch, then mark the stitch. Now continue like this to the next stitch marker. When you get there, you're just going to place one double crochet, then keep marking the stitch and continue to the end. I'll meet you at the end of row 4. Now at the end, I'll slip stitch onto the chain 2 and chain 1 and then cut off the yarn. If you're working with just one color, you're going to chain 2, then turn and continue working. So I'll cut off the pitch, pull through, fasten, then turn my work to the other side and grab the next yarn to reconnect. Begin with a slip knot. Then get that point where we've cut off the yarn and reconnect with a slip stitch right here. Then chain 2. Then skip over to the next stitch and place a double crochet. This is row 5, and row 5 is going to be an increase row. We'll get to the stitch marker and place 3 double crochets into that stitch. So now place one double crochet into every stitch till you get to the stitch marker. Pull out the stitch marker, place 3 double crochets, mark the second stitch there, now keep working with one double crochet till you get to the next stitch marker. So I've just worked an increase into that stitch, then I'll mark the middle stitch, then continue to the end and slip stitch once I get to the end of row 5. Then we're going to work row 6 without an increase. Row 7 will have an increase, row 8 will not have an increase, and we'll keep alternating between one row of increase and one row with no increase until we get the hip measurement of the dress that you're working. So let me show you how to measure the hips, that is. So while holding your work like this, you're just going to get the measuring tape. Place it on one point where you have the stitch marker, then bring it to this end. And when you measure this without stretching, it's at about 14 inches, which is multiplied by 2 to get 28. We give this a bit of a stretch, and it will get us to 16.5, which is 33 inches on the hips. And you want to continue increasing till you get your hip measurement. I'm working a hip measurement of 44, and so I'll work until I get to 22 when my skirt is slightly stretched like this. So don't stretch it out too much, just do that slightly. So now keep going with the alternate rows of increase and no increase till you get your hip measurement. I'll meet you once I have gotten to my hip measurements. Right now I'm in row 15, and I just did an increase in row 15, and this gets me to my hip measurement when slightly stretched. So let me show you. Without stretching, we are at 18 inches. Then we're going to give this a little bit of a stretch, and that gets me to 22. 22 multiplied by 2, that's 44, and I've gotten to the hip measurement that I was working. Now this dress can fit somebody with a hip measurement of between 36 to 44. Actually between 38, because it's at 19 without stretching. When you stretch, it gets to 22. So you can work this dress with the exact measurements that I've used if you're between 38 to 44 inches on the hips. Now after we've gotten to the hip measurement that we are working, we're going to remove the stitch markers because we don't need them anymore. We're not going to be increasing. And now from row 16 till I get the full length of the dress that I want, I'll just work 1 double crochet into every stitch. I'll begin with chain 2, turn, yarn over, and begin in the second stitch. Then as I come back, I'll ensure that I work into this stitch. So now work 1 double crochet into all the stitches all the way around. Once you get to the end, slip stitch into the chain 2, then chain 2 and turn to work the next row, and keep repeating the rows until you get the full length. Now I'm going to measure my length from the waist, and I want a length of, let me confirm. So I want to work a length of 16 inches, and I'm at 8 inches. So I'll just keep working 1 double crochet into every stitch in all the rows until I get to my full length of the skirt, or the full length of the dress. Then I'll be back and show you what to do next. So now just keep going with 1 double crochet and complete the dress. I went on to do a total of 42 rows for the skirt part, and this is what I have. I set out to do a length of 16 inches, but then after the 16 inches I tried the dress on and it was too short, and therefore I added some more rows to get me to 20 inches. We are now going to work the final row, and to work the final row you need to ensure that you're on the right side of the dress. In the last stitch I'm going to put my hook back in place, then I'll chain 1. So put your hook back, chain 1, and turn to begin the last row. We begin in the second stitch. Insert your hook and grab a loop to complete a single crochet, and then we're going to place the last stitch into that stitch, that very first stitch. So place 1 single crochet into all the stitches, just 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around till you come back to where you've started with the single crochet. I'm coming towards the end of the row, and I'm just placing my single crochets into the last few stitches, and then there's that stitch, and then the very last stitch where we had the chain stitch, then slip stitch onto the first single crochet, then chain one and cut off the yarn, and you're done with the skirt. Next, we're going to weave in this end, and I'm going to get my yarn needle, put the end through, then I'm just going to go inside the stitches and I'll weave in that end. Just ensure that the needle goes in between the stitches such that it doesn't show on the other side, and then you're just going to pull through the end once you're satisfied that it is well hidden. Now just cut the end that remains and you're done. The dress is ready. You can wear the dress as it is, or you can work a belt. I really want to have a belt on this dress, so I'm going to show you how to work the belt next. Grab your yarn and start with a slip knot, then chain 5. Hold the 5th chain and chain 2 more, then yarn over and put your hook into the 5th chain and do a double crochet there. Then the first chain 2 will be our first double crochet. Then we're going to place a double crochet into each of the chains for a total of 6 double crochets. You already know how to do double crochets, so I'm basically illustrating how I did the belt. So chain 2 and turn to begin row 2. Begin in the second stitch and do a double crochet into the second stitch. Do a double crochet into the third stitch. So yarn over and do a double crochet into the third stitch, then into the 4th stitch, then into the 5th, and the 6th stitch is on the chain 2, so place a double crochet there, and you should have a total of 6 double crochets. Chain 2, turn to begin row 3. We begin in the second stitch with a double crochet and a double crochet into all the stitches for a total of 6 double crochets. Remember to work in the chain 2 at the end. Then you're going to chain 2 and turn to begin the next row, and this is what you're going to repeat until you have the length of the belt that you want. So you're just repeating row 2 all the way till you get the total number of rows that will give you the length of the belt that you want. I've worked a total of 24 rows with the pitch, and that gives me a length of 12 inches, and I'm going to be working a total of 12 inches with each color. So I'll chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point, the pitch yarn, pull through and fasten. Then I'm going to grab the next color, which is color yellow. Then I'll start with a slip knot. Then I'll get my work and begin in the very first stitch, reconnect my yarn there with a slip stitch, chain 2 at that point, and the chain 2 is going to act as the first double crochet. Then we're going to work into the second stitch while working over the ends with a double crochet, and then place 1 double crochet into all the stitches, including the chain 2 stitch at the end. Once you get to the end, you're going to chain 2, turn and work the 6 double crochets, and you're going to keep going until you get the length of your belts. I'll keep changing with my 5 colors after every 24 rows, and I'll be back once I have my belt ready. I've done a total of 100 rows for the belt, and the 100 rows may be too long, but that's okay with me. If you feel it's too long, then just do a number of rows. That would be okay for you. So I'm just going to get the dress and then put the belt on. This is completely up to you how you put the belt. And so thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the tutorial. If you've enjoyed the tutorial, kindly leave a like, comment, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed, that is, and click on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I upload a tutorial. I'm thinking of converting this into a gown, and when I do, I'll leave a link in the description box, so be sure to check it out. See you in the next tutorial.